Unlike the Baroque period, classical music was simple, melodic, and ordered in style. It was lyrical and had an intrinsic beauty that seemed to be missing in the previous era. The major composers of classical style music were Austrians Franz Joseph Haydn and Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Italians Antonio Salieri and Muzio Clementi, and German Ludwig van Beethoven. Franz Joseph Haydn was born in Austria in 1732. He was a brilliant, hard-working composer who won the love and admiration from the court musicians under him as well as his contemporary composers. Haydn was also a music teacher who taught many upstarts composition. One of these students was a brash 16-year-old named Ludwig van Beethoven. Haydn composed for princes and emperors. He spent the last few years in London composing for the English court. Haydn passed away in Vienna, Austria, 1809, to the sound of artillery fire as Napoleon besieged the city. Allegedly, he was kissed on the forehead by former student Beethoven on the night of Haydn's death. Haydn was one of the most prolific composers ever, 104 symphonies and countless chamber works, including sonatas, concertos, and sacred pieces. The definitive classical period composer was an Austrian named Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Mozart was a child prodigy or a child genius. He studied under his father, himself a fine musician and composer, and was writing his own music by age 7. He was also touring Europe at that age, giving concerts to the Pope and royalty of several countries. By the time he was 10, he had already composed a number of symphonies, sonatas, and concertos. In his teens, he went to Italy to study music. The result was Mozart began writing some of the most beautiful melodies ever heard before or since. Mozart was always sickly. He passed away in 1791 at the age of only 35. The music world will never know what treasures it may have had if Mozart lived another 30 years. One of the last composers of the classical period was a German named Ludwig van Beethoven. A student of Haydn, among others, Beethoven was always wanting to stretch the boundaries of expression and often broke conventional rules of music writing. He was frustrated with the style of music that had been around for so long and wanted to create a totally new sound. Beethoven was born in 1777 in Bonn, Germany. The classical period was unlike the Baroque period. It was simple, ordered, and lyrical. The simplicity led to a pure form of beauty that did not exist prior to or since this style. But composers in the later stages of classical thought it was not expressive enough. Beethoven was one of those and broke through to the next level of creativity, the Romantic period. One word of caution: classical period should not be confused with classical music. Classical music is an umbrella term of which classical period goes under, like Baroque period, Romantic period, Impressionist period, etc. Classical period music is a form or style of classical music. Just look at the amount of confusion this has caused for this little baby.